Hi, everyone. My name is Alice Padilla. I'm Amaryllis's mother. I don't know if you're aware of that, but if not, now you know. Love that girl to death. She's the reason why I'm doing this today is because she always encourages me to do better and be better, and this is just the beginning of her story. When she asked me to speak, I really didn't know what to start out with, but I let God lead me, and I I thought about August 2017 when I got let go of my job, and it was the first time I was let go of a position, and it was difficult, like even to the point of discouragement. I really needed to pace myself and reflect on my life in that moment. And two things happened that weekend. And the first thing was that I got an offer for my house. So I got to sell my house in Nutley, which I lived there 14 years. And then that Monday when I went into work, I got let go of my job. So it was like, I didn't know what to do, celebrate. That weekend I did celebrate because it was my birthday weekend. But that's funny. But that Monday when I went to work, it was just like a shocker again. Like I said in the beginning, that I was shocked, disappointed, and didn't understand what God was doing at that point, because I'm like, okay, God, now why did you let me go from this job? Just wondering. And as that week that I, was reflecting at home, God was like, and I'm not going to say God said it, because, God doesn't speak to me audibly like he does to Amaryllis. He just, I sense the spirit. I'm more spirit led. I sense that he was like, yeah, you were in a rut. You were very complacent. I don't want you there anymore. And I'm like, okay. So I gotta let go. So, right? I gotta let go. What can you do? You can't hold on to something that God really, like, after 10 years of being in the same place, you gotta just let it go, right? So I let it go. God had something new for me. He had a new beginning for me. And the three people from the Bible that came to mind, or, God led me to, was Rahab, Peter, and Paul. Rahab got a fresh start because her name was put back into the bloodline of Jesus Christ. Peter denied Jesus 3 times before he died. And when, Jesus rose from the dead, the first person after he saw the woman, just to let you know, he saw the woman first, and he says, oh, tell Peter that I asked for him. And Paul, because he was on this high horse, God just knocked him off his horse, and he gave him a fresh start, a new vision. And I'm like, okay, all right, so you're doing that, because that was the kind of like the hit that I kind of felt, God showing me these 3 people in the Bible, how they got a fresh start, and how it was my turn to get a fresh start, right? So I stayed home for 4 months, and talking with Amaryllis and Lisa about it, I remember we had a lot of gym time. For some reason, we spent a lot of time in the gym in those 3 months. That was interesting. But anyway, that's a sidebar. Also, I spent a lot of time doing things that concern my home, which I don't want to talk about because that was a lot. Ed had me like his personal secretary for 4 months. And then as I was praying and going through what I was going through, I kept looking for work. I would get up in the morning every day and I was look for a job. That was my goal. I was looking for a job. I'm like, God, you're going to find me a job. You let me go with this job, you're going to find me a job. So I would get up, I would speak with people. I would, I had like a few interviews, not many, while I was waiting. But I do remember the last interview before I started working at the company that I am now. That was pretty interesting because I'm like, okay, it's in my field. I've been in pharmaceutical business 26 years. What could go wrong? I know this stuff. So I get into this position and it was very chaotic. It wasn't what I expected. Every day when I would go in there, it would just get scarier and scarier to go to work. That kind of feeling, like when you're scared to go to work, that was me in the morning. I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, I gotta go to work today. And I guess one of the difficult parts of it was dealing with millennials, and I didn't realize, and I have two millennials, so it's not like I'm not around them. But, my daughter and my son are both millennials, but it was a different feeling when you go into an office and you have to deal with people that are constantly on their phones, and they don't know how to build relationships. They don't know how to speak to you. They don't even know how to say good morning. I'm like, oh my gosh, what is wrong with these people? So, just that alone was difficult, just trying to say, hey, hi, you want to get some coffee? Like something, anything. But I thought about that time, and I'm like, it was just getting worse and worse. And then, so then 2 weeks in my job, and my coworker gives her resignation. One of my coworkers. So on top of being new, on top of my boss being new as well, I didn't mention that my boss started 5 days after I did, and he didn't know jack about the job. And my coworkers didn't want to even teach me my job. So I had to fend for myself most of the time. And thank God for the 26 years of experience, but it was, and that God had mercy on those people, because I didn't, say and do the wrong things, because I knew who my father was. Let's put it that way. I knew that, if he's showing them something through me, I got to be chill. I got to be relaxed. I got to learn how to deal with them. Anyway, so 2 weeks in, the lady resigns, and she spent those last 2 weeks of that month teaching me, this is all in January, teaching me her job. So I'm like, okay, I'm like, this is very helpful. She taught me, blah, blah, blah. So now I have, I deal with U.S. suppliers and Indian suppliers. So I have to get up early in the morning to call India, and then, in the afternoon, in the evenings, try to deal with my suppliers. So, haggling all that was just such a struggle for, I'm going to say I think it just got worse. Oh, and on top of that, we were learning a new system. So I got all these responsibilities falling on me. This is just work. Mind you, I still go to church. I do I-groups. I go to Matrix, whatever else I'm a wife and a mother. So, so I'm trying to juggle all these things. And it was just getting to the point that I would come home and I would literally just want to cry. I would just come home I don't know. I don't know if I could do this. It still feels like it hurts. But, I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know. But I'm like, okay, God. I said, okay, God, you put me here. This is your job. This is the job you gave me. So now you got to do your part, because if I fail and if I don't make it, it's because, it's because of you. I want to put the blame on somebody, right? Got to blame God. I'm like, you put me here, you got to get me through it. So, so that's what happened. Me and Ed would pray every night. I'm not kidding. My prayer life went from and my prayer life wasn't bad, but it just got a lot better. Let's put it that way. And me and Ed would pray every night. He would just, counsel me and, hold me in his arms and say, you're going to make it. It's going to be okay. I'm like, okay, I'm going to make it. And, and one night, while I was praying, the Holy Spirit in the whisper, revealed, don't worry, Alice, just hang in there. Why am I crying so much? Hang in there till August. It was painful. It was like, hang in there till August. Hang in till August. I got you. And I'm like, and August was months away. It felt like it anyway at the time. And I'm like, okay, God, I'm going to hold on. So we went through that time, and I had to work a lot from home. I had to work weekends. Then finally, the time came, and my boss kept saying, Alice, don't worry. We're gonna get somebody. And I'm like, okay, I'm hanging in there. I think it was July. He finally picked somebody. My boss finally picked somebody. And then the guy was like, okay, yeah, I could start in August. I'm like, okay, great. I knew it all the time. I was like, yeah. I Yeah, I knew it the whole time it was July. August. I was like, okay, no problem. And and then after that, they hired this guy. That I want to thank him really, because he's been, since he started, he changed like the whole outlook of the office, and I'm very thankful for him. So they hired him, and then they hired someone for India. So I was like set. I was like, great, this is awesome. I'm set, right? So then we go through our period again, and then God had, God started doing stuff within the company, and we went through a Chapter 11. And if you don't know what that is, that means that we went through a bankruptcy. And that means that somebody needed to buy our company so we can move forward. So now another person within the group, they resigned. So now her workload was divided between me and the other guy that was working there. I just took it on like, okay, this, I know that I'm growing through this. And I know that I'm learning so much. And I kid you not, in that whole year of 2018, I learned so many things that I kid you not, that I think if it wasn't for what I was going through, I don't think I would have learned them in that speed and time. You know what I'm saying? So it was just, it just happened so quickly that I didn't have a choice. I had to jump on it. I remember one of the guys that works with me, he went away for like 2 months to help out in the warehouse. And when he came back, he goes, wow, Alice, you know your stuff. And I looked at him, I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm like, like he didn't even, when he left and came back, he saw such a growth in me. When you put in those trials and how you quickly, can bounce back, and how you're supposed to feel joy, right, in those trials, but you don't feel, I wasn't feeling any kind of joy. But once I went through it and I went back and I saw what happened in those in that year, in those few months, I was like, wow, I consider it pure joy that I went through those things, because it took me to a different level. And I lack nothing. Thanks, I know that was your awesome. That's my daughter. But I think it was just that important for me, going from a place that I was just in a rut. And I didn't think I was, believe me. I didn't think I was in a rut, but God had other plans. So, I was in a rut. God took me out of, a nice, stable, comfortable job and put me in a place that I needed to rely on Him every hour. If I kid you not, every hour, if I wasn't in a bathroom break praying, I was in a bathroom break praying, because I needed Him every hour. And I was like, yeah, consider it pure joy. Exactly. But anyway, so then we went through that Chapter 11, and that was the beginning of this year. At the end of last year, beginning of this year, we didn't know who was going to buy us, and we didn't know what kind of management was going to take over. And finally, we have a new management now, and they fired every VP that I was around when I started working at this company, which is very interesting because all of them are very intimidating. So I don't know if you've ever been around people that are very intimidating. And it's funny because yesterday while we were at Matrix, the pastor Greco said, I was afraid of man. And I think I felt like that last year. I felt like I was afraid of man, because these guys were like, I don't know why everybody was like 6'6", blonde with blue eyes, and and I'm like, what is going on here? Like every VP has to be like 6'6", 6'4", 6'1". So I had to always look up because I'm like 5'6", and I'm usually used to being the tallest person, but not in this place. Not in this place, not at all. But anyway, all of them got fired. So I'm not around those VPs anymore, which were very, very intimidating. And I felt like, I felt in that season that as well, that while I was growing, I also felt that I wasn't good enough. I felt like after 26 years of being in pharma, I felt like I knew nothing about pharma, and then to be put in front of these guys that I had to respond on the spot and know my job. It was like a testing of my knowledge. And I'm like, okay, so I had to be always on my toes. I always had to be prepared. I always had to be, know what I'm talking about, and try not to stutter, because that was hard, when you're like looking at these guys, looking up. It was very hard not to stutter. I think that season did teach me so much about, how much I really need to trust on God, and how I shouldn't stay lukewarm towards the things of God. The Bible says either you got to be cold or hot, right? But you can be lukewarm, because he'll spit you out, right? That's what he says, unfortunately, but that's what he says. So, I know that in my season now, that even with the season that we're at the church, and the season that we're at home, and the season that we're at with our groups, and, even the couples within the church, how everyone is growing, and how everyone is like still meshing together, and we're all trying to come together, but we're all like, I'm gonna say, we're all like on fire. We're hot. We're not cold towards the things of God. I think we're more on the hot side, and I think it took that season that it went through to show me that I can't stay complacent, that I can't be afraid of man. And I love the way Greco said it. He said it yesterday. You can't be afraid of man. He breathes just like you. And I was like, oh my gosh, what a miracle. What it was like, it's like, man breathes just like me. Oh, shoot.
And like when he said he could die.
And he could die.
Right after he breathes. Exactly.
And then after he breathes, he could die. I'm like, yeah, you're right. But I was like, wow, that was great. Thank you, Greco, for an eye-opening experience yesterday, and how my faith, because how that stuff like this, why should I be afraid? What does that say about my faith? That's something we talked about last night. What does that say about my faith? Does that say, that says that you have little faith? It says that you are unfaithful. It says that you're faithless, and it says that you fear. So I'm like, I gotta stop that. I gotta think. I can't continue to think that way. What am I showing even to my own daughters, to my own the girls that I am around all the time? What am I showing them if I'm not, if I'm not getting beyond my fears, or even even if it's here sitting in my kitchen, talking to you guys about what I went through. It was hard, but I got through it. And that's what matters, that God gets you through every situation, every time. And I can't continue to want to, be like Thomas, that wants to see the hands and wants to see the scars. I got to trust him, even because that's what faith is, right? Faith is the substance of things not seen, and the hope. Now, faith is the substance of things hoped for, and the evidence of things not seen. I can't even read it, but at the end of the day, that's what God wants to instill in us and wants to continue to grow in us, is our faith, regardless of the situations we're put in. Amen. Amen. Is that okay? Yeah.
Exhale. I love it.